Hey everybody, welcome to Kitchen Chaos with Jackie. So today is Sunday and I am doing some prep work for the week. So I'm making a few things so that George can just put them in the oven before I get home from work, because I don't get home until around 5:30 or so. I started making dinner because I was like, I'm making meatloaf. I'm like, nobody wants to watch meatloaf. But as I was chopping up and starting to cook my vegetables, I thought, well, I don't make just normal meatloaf. I always have to throw some different things into it. Today we're going to do a Mexican inspired meatloaf. I've not made this for quite a while. I don't have a recipe that I follow as usual, but I do follow the basics that you need for a meatloaf. So that is adding some egg binder. I will be using some almond flour today. Sometimes I use pork rinds. I crush those up and use that. But I don't have any plain ones, so I'm going to go ahead and use some almond flour. I also have some veg, and I have some tomatoes that are from the garden that were starting to go really ripe. So I'm going to actually cook those down and use that as the moisturizing, that doesn't sound right, as the moisture component to the meatloaf. And then, bake it for an hour at 350, give or take. So like I said, I wasn't going to do this, so I apologize. I've already started cooking some of the stuff, but I don't know, maybe this will inspire you to do something different with your plain old meatloaf. I'm sorry, I've never been a fan, like the whole ketchup on top and stuff. My mom used to make it that way, and I'm sure I liked it as a kid, but as an adult, no, not so much. So, I don't know, come along with me. Let's try this and see what happens. Okay. Okay, so as you can see, I've already started sauteing my vegetables. So what I have in here is a little bit of onion. I had a mixture. I had a little bit of red onion left in the fridge, and I cut up a little bit of white onion. I also have some jalapenos that I had chopped up in the freezer. And let's see, I have a little bit of red peppers from my garden. I think that's about all that's in here. So I've been sauteing that in just a little bit of bacon fat that I had. And the other thing, I'm going to turn this back on. Like I told you, I apologize. I started doing this before I even thought about recording. So the other thing I did was I chopped up some tomatoes. Like I said, these are from the garden. I just chopped them up in little pieces, and I'm going to add that to my vegetable mixture. And I'm just going to cook it down. So I guess kind of like, well, my inspiration again is for like a Mexican inspired taco type of meatloaf. So this would be like your ketchup component. I'm going to call it my salsa component. So we're just going to cook those down. I just use my small skillet. Don't mind Jack. He always likes to be part of the videos, so he feels he has to be barking at everything. I'm also going to get some seasonings. Now, again, this isn't kind of the way I've done some of the other videos, because I usually have everything set up for you. Today, this is how I cook. This is going to be whatever's in the kitchen. That's what you're going to get. All right, so let's see. So we're going to go to the cabinet of spices. Now, I usually make my own spices because I have found that most actually have sugar added to them. But I did find a taco burrito seasoning from one of the stores. It does not have any added sugar to it, so that is lovely because that means I don't have to make it. So it's salt, cumin, paprika, dried onion, garlic, chili powder, ground oregano, and crushed cayenne peppers. And that's it. So, shit, how easy is that? So we are doing about, oh goodness, Jack, hold on. Okay, so we're going to be doing about 2.5 pounds of ground meat. So for our seasoning, it calls for a, what is it, 2 tablespoons of seasoning per 1 pound of meat. So that'll be about 4 tablespoons or so of the taco seasoning. And then we'll add some other stuff as well. I'm going to go ahead and start adding some of it to my tomato mixture so that I can season this, and then I'll also add some to the meat. So there's probably about a tablespoon left in this container. So I'm just going to dump that in there. I know, I'm sorry, it's very unorthodox the way I cook. You'll find that. All right, so I'm also going to throw a little bit of salt in here. I did not salt the vegetables before when I was cooking them. I usually don't. I don't know. It's just what I do. Sometimes I do, I guess. Sometimes I don't. Oh, I think that's all I'll do right now is just a little bit of taco seasoning and some salt. Like I said, we're just going to break down these tomatoes. and make a little sauce. So today is a day where I do a lot of housework and different things going on, but I also, like I said, like to do some prepping for the meals for the week. My plan is to have this meatloaf for tomorrow. I'm also going to do some mashed cauliflower, and I'm going to show you how I make my mashed cauliflower. I'm going to make that today, and then we just have to heat it up tomorrow. The other thing I have is bacon wrapped asparagus. Now, I already wrapped it, it's in the fridge, but I think maybe I'll go ahead and show you just really quickly what I did for that. It's really easy. I pre-cooked some bacon in the oven at 400 for about 10 minutes. I just wanted to cook it a little bit. I wanted it to still be pliable. And then I wrapped that around the asparagus, and then we'll bake that tomorrow in the oven with the meatloaf. It'll go in probably for, I don't know, 10-15 minutes. George will just have to keep an eye on it until the bacon is crispy. And it's really, oh, it's so good because the bacon fat just melts on the asparagus, and just bacon and asparagus go really well together. So we did that. So as you can see, it's already starting to break down a little bit. So I'm going to work on that. I'm also going to get my meat in a bowl, and I'm going to scramble up an egg so that I can put in, and I'll also pull out the almond flour. All right, so I'll be right back with that. Alright guys, so we are just sizzling away over here. I'm actually going to go ahead and turn this off because we're going to have to let this mixture cool before we add it to the ground beef. Now, one of the things, you always need to taste your food. Now, of course, I can't taste the ground beef before I make it into a meatloaf, but I am going to taste this and just see if I feel like it needs something. So, and it's going to be really hot. Okay, that's good. I didn't want it to be too salty, so I think I did good with the salt. I can taste a little bit of that taco seasoning mix. I will definitely be adding a lot more to the ground beef when we get to that part, because it's not quite there. Just a tiny little bit of heat from those jalapenos, not much. I had already deseeded them and taken out the ribs. So we're going to let this cool, and I'm going to get everything else together. Alright guys, so here we go. I have, like I said, this is 2.5 pounds of ground hamburger that I have in my glass dish. I also have taken out the taco seasoning. I also have some garlic, black pepper, the salt, and also some ground cumin, because I really like cumin in anything that I have that is, yeah, has to do with tacos or anything that I make. Okay, and then I also have the blanched almond flour. I just buy that at Walmart. So I have that in a little 1/2 cup scoop over here. Might not add it all at one time. We're going to have to see once we get in there with our hands, and we'll kind of see how it feels and if we have to add more or not. Beaten egg, and then I have my tomato mixture. So I just have to show you this. These are my measuring spoons that my friend got me for my birthday, so they're awesome. So we're going to be using those today. So little piggy, he's a tablespoon, so that's what we're going to use for our burrito seasoning. So let me see here, how do I want to do this? I think we'll add the seasonings first. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So I added about 1 tablespoon to the meat whenever I was cooking it. So we're going to go ahead and add about another 3 tablespoons, give or take. You can see I'm terrible at measuring, but I'm doing this for you. Because usually I would just start dumping it in, kind of like that. Oh, I'm a hot mess, I swear. Okay, wait, let me see. What if we put little piggy? Oh, we just put little piggy in there. Look at that. All right. So that's going to be about 3 tablespoons, give or take. All right, so I'm going to throw a little bit of salt. Now, usually whenever I do meatloaf, I do a teaspoon of salt per pound of meat. That is something I believe I got from the Food Network. So I usually follow that rule. I didn't put that much in because I know there is salt in this seasoning. I don't want to over salt it. You can put more in, you can't take it away. So I think what I'm actually going to do, I told you I couldn't taste it. I'm just putting some black pepper in there before I make it into a meatloaf, but actually I can. I'm just going to use the pan that I cooked up the tomato mixture in. I'm going to fry up a little bit of it and see how it tastes and if I need to adjust the seasonings. So we're going to throw a little bit of garlic powder because I forgot to chop up garlic and fry. Sophie, it's okay. And then we're going to go in with our cumin. Like I said, I really like cumin, so I tend to overdo it a little bit, I think. Not to do too bad, but I am like, hey, it's 2.5 pounds of meat. All right. All right, so we have our seasonings in there. So I'm going to go ahead and just give it a very light mix. I just want to get the seasonings all over the meat before I add the tomato, and I'll add the egg, and then the almond flour I will add last. So I'm not overworking it. I'm just, like I said, trying to combine the seasoning, make sure all the hamburger's broken up. There was a couple of pieces that were still a little bit frozen because this was a package I had in the freezer. And when I was thinking about what to do for dinners this week, and I saw that, and the way it was packaged, it looked like a meatloaf. And I said, you know what? I haven't made meatloaf in forever. Let's go ahead and do that. So, all right, excuse me, guys. All right, so we have that mixed up. So now I'm going to come over and grab my tomato mixture, and I'm just going to dump that right in. Okay, so we have that in there. Oh, this is going to get messy, gang. And then I'm going to go ahead and throw my egg in here because we're just going to mix it around again. So this is difficult to do when George isn't here to help me with my camera work, so I hope that this will be okay. He is sleeping. He worked last night. So we're here alone with the dogs trying to make you a Mexican-inspired meatloaf. Oh my goodness. So again, I just don't want to overwork the meatloaf. So we're just trying to just combine everything together. Oh, we're going to make a mess. All right, so now we're going to go in with the almond flour. I'm going to add about half of this, I think, at first. So that would be about 1/4 cup. Oh, maybe a little over. But I feel like it's going to need it because of the moisture from the tomatoes. Not a textbook meatloaf. Oh, I hope that doesn't sound as bad on the camera as it does while I'm mixing it. It's, yeah. But you guys know if you've made meatloaf before, it's a messy, messy thing. All right, we're going to go ahead and add the rest of that. I can tell just from feeling it that it's going to need a little bit more of a binder because it's a little bit loose. Oh, I forgot. Oh, we're gonna put cheese in the middle of this, guys. Oh. Okay, so I need to find the cheese. I'm not sure what cheese I'm using. We'll figure that out. I'm gonna let that hang out there for a minute and soak up some of that almond flour, and then we'll see if we need to add a little bit more. I am going to go figure out what kind of cheese I can use. Oh, but I need to wipe my hands. Hold on. Okay guys, so we're back. I had to scrounge around in the freezer, but I did find some shredded cheese. I still haven't shredded my own cheese, and I keep meaning to do it, but I run out of time. So I do try to keep some. This is my last bag that was in the freezer. So I just put it in the bowl because I didn't want to reach into the bag once I'm playing with the meatloaf again. So it's frozen, but it's fine because it's broken up. It'll be okay. All right, so while I was away, I also did what I told you I was going to, is I took a little piece of the hamburger mixture, I put it in that pan that I was using and fried it up, and oh, guys, oh, it's delicious. It was really good. So the salt level was good. I did add just another tablespoon of the taco seasoning because I felt like that didn't come through quite enough. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more almond flour to this. We're going to give it another mix and then see if it'll be firm enough for us to make into a log in our sheet. So I have a my Pyrex baking dish over here, and I have lined it with foil to help keep the mess to a minimum because this will juice out everywhere. And it'll be good because you know what? You can actually make a gravy out of that. Oh, this is feeling so much better. Okay, so I think I'm actually done with the almond flour. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the mixture and we're going to split it in half. Because like I said, we're going to stuff this meatloaf. And the kids love this. Well, we all love it. I mean, who doesn't love, you know, cutting into, you know, your hamburger or your meatloaf and coming up with a bunch of gooey cheese? So we're not going to do this quite like a traditional meatloaf. I'm actually flattening it out a little bit because we'll pull it up on the sides to help keep the cheese inside of there. Can maybe use a little bit more almond flour. Whatever, we're going in. All right, so I don't know if you can see me over here. Like I said, I don't have anybody to help me man the camera today. So I'm just pressing this into my pan. Just like a flat little loaf. I'm going to put a little divot here in the middle. It's fun. Play with your food. All right, and I think I am going to go ahead and add this little bit of almond flour to this other mixture. I feel like I'm mixing it too much, but I don't want it to fall apart, although it may. Again, not a traditional. This is not my mom's or my grandmother's meatloaf. This is just my own interpretation. So if you hate it, I'm sorry. But again, I'm kind of hoping you'll just take an inspiration that if you're thinking maybe, hey, I could do something like that, or, you know, some other kind of seasonings. So we're going to go in with the cheese, and I'm just going to lay it on top. I don't know. Let me see if I can maybe move this a little closer. Move this guy out of the way a little bit so you can kind of see what's going on. All right. And if you wondered why I named this Kitchen Chaos, well, this is kind of why. I'm a little chaotic when I get in the kitchen, just because I'm trying to do so many things. But it works, as long as the food comes out good. So I used about a half a package of cheese. So that was just one of those normal 2-cuppers. So that'd be about a cup of cheese. And I'm just kind of putting that on top, more towards the middle. So we're going to take our other slab of meat and we're going to kind of press it out. Oh, the best we can. And then we're just going to lay that on top. And then we're going to press it on top of the other one. This is a monstrosity, let me just tell you. Holy cow. All right, and then we're going to kind of fold up the sides and try to squish it together the best we can. We want the cheese to stay inside of our meatloaf. So that's why, I don't know if you could tell, I didn't put it around the sides so much. I kind of try to keep it in the middle. Oh, that's heavy. Oh my goodness. So this is going to feed us for a couple of days. Maybe do, I don't know, when I do leftovers, I'll probably like fry it up in the skillet a little bit to create a little bit of a crust. And serve that with some veg. Like I said, we're going to do this with some mashed cauliflower, which I'll show you here in a little bit how we do that. Now, again, not traditional. It's not in a loaf pan. You can see it's not even really in a loaf. I don't really know. This looks kind of like a big football. But it's going to be delicious. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wrap this with saran wrap. I will put it in the fridge for George to cook tomorrow. And he will then take it out of the refrigerator about a half an hour before he puts it into the oven. 350 for an hour to an hour and a half. So that really just because it's so big, like I said, 2.5 pounds of meat, plus I put the cheese in there. We want to make sure that it's really cooked through. So I will have him take it out at an hour, check it, and then if it doesn't seem like it's done, he'll put it back in for another half an hour. All right, guys. There we go. Alright guys, so I just got home from work and George has baked the meatloaf in the oven. He left it in at 350 for about an hour and 15 minutes. It looks beautiful. Although some of the cheese did ooze out, it'll be okay. It's still going to be delicious. So we're going to let that cool. We'll slice it up and then I'll show you the finished plate. Alright guys, so here is our finished plate. It smells delicious. The meatloaf does not look pretty, so I'm just saying. But I'm pretty sure it's going to taste delicious. So this video ran a little bit longer than I wanted it to, so I'm going to post a separate video for the bacon wrapped asparagus and the cauliflower, so check that out. I'll post it on the same day. But that way, if you just want to see how to make the sides, you can, and you're not subjected to the whole video. Alright guys, so we're going to eat because everything looks so good. I hope you're inspired to play around with your own meatloaf recipe and do something different. So be good to each other. Peace out.